sacrament itself. And they're proving how foolish they are every single day. So there was a bizarre demonstration yesterday. We're so concerned with owning the cons and owning the libs these days that people are willing to do the stupidest possible things. So a bunch of women decided to go out and dress themselves in Handmaid's Tales outfits because they went and they got like red habits. They got like red robes and the white potato chip hats and all the rest of this. And they're wandering around Arizona in the 110 degree weather in order to own the cons or something. So here they were walking around and jabbering about Roe v. Wade. You can see them here saying, it says, keep your theology off our biology. Get out of our privates. Ladies, I have no interest. Okay, keep your theology. And then there's pictures of abortion hangers and all these women who are walking around in 110 degree weather as though they are going to be made handmaidens if they can't kill the babies inside their womb. The most obvious example, by the way, of the stupidity of the left on this issue comes courtesy of Michelle Wolf, who is just an awful human being. So Michelle Wolf, you'll recall from being terrible at comedy and also being on the White House Correspondents' Dinner where she yelled about her vagina or some such. She decided that in honor of the 4th of July, the most American thing she could think of was killing your baby in the womb and cutting its brain out. So here she is doing her 4th of July special in which she does a full-on Star-Spangled tribute to killing your baby in the womb.
And women, don't forget, you have the power to give life and men will try to control that. Don't let them! God bless abortions and God bless America!
God bless abortions and God bless America. It says the Break's 10th annual salute to abortion. Wow. God bless America and God bless abortion. The perverse level of love for abortion, abortion as a sacrament, abortion as a sign of bravery, abortion as a sign of decency on the left. This is why they are so concerned that Roe v. Wade is going to be overturned. Not because Roe v. Wade being overturned will actually amount to the illegalization of abortion, but simply because they're afraid that people might actually want to vote on the issue of whether you ought to kill your baby in the womb. And they can't win this argument because this argument is unwinnable. People should not be allowed to kill babies in the womb. Even most Democrats believe that there should be significant restrictions on the ability to kill a baby in the womb. Right? They may not agree on how early you ban that, but most of them agree that 20 weeks and on, that should be banned. Okay, so Michelle Wolf is like, this radicalism is really insane. It shows why they're so concerned with the nomination of this justice, because they believe the Supreme Court is all that stands between them and getting rid of something that they hold holy, namely the ability to kill your child in the womb. Okay, so over the weekend was, of course, the White House Correspondents' Dinner. I hate the White House Correspondents' Dinner. I think it's stupid. I think that it is self-aggrandizing. Every year I complain about it. It has been for probably 10 years running. I say that it's just ridiculous to have all of these journalists sitting there in tuxes, feeding each other and talking about how wonderful they are, and then patting each other on the back, and they have this roast. And there's one event every year that is made to order to make Americans feel as though they are out of the loop and scorned by the media elite. It is the White House Correspondents' Dinner. We were actually invited to the White House Correspondents' Dinner. I did not go. I really am not particularly interested in going. It doesn't look like a very fun event to be at, honestly. It's just a place for people to hobnob with each other. When they talk about Washington, D.C. cocktail parties, this is exactly the sort of thing they are talking about. Well, everything was going sort of as planned, as per the usual arrangement at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. A bunch of rich people, famous people patting each other on the back and talking about how wonderful they are and making some sort of light jokes about one another. And then Michelle Wolf got up. Now, I'd never heard of this person, Michelle Wolf. Had you guys heard of Michelle Wolf before this? I'd never heard of Michelle Wolf before this. I just figured that she was some sort of Debbie Wasserman Schultz impersonator. I had no clue who she was. And she gets up. Apparently, it turns out that she's a writer for Comedy Central, which demonstrates presumably why Trevor Noah is deeply unfunny. I guess that this explains a lot of things. It explains Trevor Noah. It explains Samantha Bee's prior history. I don't know if she wrote for either of those shows, but if not, then she has a lot of compatriots who are just as unfunny as she is. So Michelle Wolf gets up, and she has a 19-minute monologue. And we're not going to play for you this 19-minute monologue because I watched it, and it probably took 4 years off my life just in terms of sheer boredom. And I was just watching it, and I could feel my hair turning gray. It was like the end of Indiana Jones and the Holy Grail. It's like I drunk from the wrong cup. By the end of the monologue, I'd added several gray hairs and several wrinkles to my forehead. But Michelle Wolf did this monologue, and it's been much ballyhooed. People on the left, many of them defending it. Some people on the left not defending it. People on the right, of course, very, very upset about it. I want to talk about this because I want to talk about the value of humor in Trump-era America. I want to talk about the media's response to all of this. As a precursor, let it be noted, no one made a joke about Obama for 8 years at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And it was forbidden. You were allowed to make jokes about Paul Ryan, about Mitch McConnell, about Mitt Romney, about John McCain. You were allowed to make jokes about a bunch of foreign leaders. You were not allowed to make jokes that were serious about Barack Obama. Right? This is why Seth Meyers and crew were making these. It was great. I mean, if you're a Republican president, you could be attacked when you were the president, like Bush, or you could be attacked when you were not the president, like Bush, when Obama was president. So the White House Correspondents' Dinner has always become a roast of the right, which of course has justified the right wing's hatred of the media. One of the great lies the media have put out over the past several years is that President Trump is the one who ginned up all of this dislike of the media. That's utter nonsense. As I said at CPAC, we hated you guys before. We thought you guys sucked. We thought that you were bad at your job. We thought that you were not objective and you were pretending to be objective. We thought that you were wildly left-wing. So it's not a shock, really, that Michelle Wolf was up there ripping into President Trump. But it was the level of vitriol that she used. It was the crazy level of vitriol that she used that got people really upset, particularly her rip on Sarah Huckabee Sanders. So Trump declined to go, but a bunch of members of the White House were there. So Kellyanne Conway went. I don't know why, if you're Kellyanne Conway, you would go. Sarah Huckabee Sanders went. I don't know why, if you're Sarah Huckabee Sanders, you would go. You know you're going to go there. You know you're going to get roasted. And Michelle Wolf certainly roasted Sarah Huckabee Sanders, again, in quite unfunny fashion. And, you know, there are a lot of folks out there who say that I have an annoying voice. Folks, you have not heard annoying until you've heard this voice. So here's Michelle Wolf going off on Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
I have to say, I'm a little starstruck. I love you as Aunt Lydia on The Handmaid's Tale. Mike Pence, if you haven't seen it, you would love it. I actually really like Sarah. I think she's very resourceful. Like, she burns facts, and then she uses that ash to create a perfect smoky eye. Like, maybe she's born with it. Maybe it's lies. And I'm never really sure what to call Sarah Huckabee Sanders. You know, is it Sarah Sanders? Is it Sarah Huckabee Sanders? Is it Cousin Huckabee? Is it Auntie Huckabee Sanders? Like, what's Uncle Tom but for white women who disappoint other white women? Oh, I know, Aunt Coulter.
Okay, so number one, was any of that funny? Like, if you're on the left, you find that funny? Maybe we just have wildly different senses of humor, but I didn't find any of that funny. Like, I will laugh if there's a good anti-Trump joke, because a good joke is a good joke, but that's not a good joke. Now, a lot of people were getting on Wolf for supposedly ripping on Huckabee Sanders' looks. I'm not hearing her rip on Huckabee Sanders' looks right there, actually. I didn't actually hear the evidence that she's ripping on Sarah Huckabee Sanders' looks. She makes a reference about smoky eye. She makes a reference about Aunt Lydia from The Handmaid's Tale, which I believe is more of a rip on Huckabee Sanders' character. I mean, this is where we've come in American society. You're allowed to say that a woman wants other women to be raped for purposes of impregnation, which is actually the role of Aunt Lydia in The Handmaid's Tale. In The Handmaid's Tale, Aunt Lydia is the woman who oversees all of the women who are raped, forcibly consummated by men, and then are forced to bear their children. And so that seems to me that would be more of an insult than that she's ugly, but that's not, but people didn't take it that way. You're not allowed to attack Sarah Huckabee Sanders on these grounds because presumably there was some sort of covert joke there about Aunt Lydia being played by a not very attractive woman in the series, and Sarah Huckabee Sanders looks like that woman. Again, I'm not hearing the evidence that Sarah Huckabee Sanders was ripped on account of her looks. I am hearing a lot of very mean and stupid jokes about Sarah Huckabee Sanders, but I'm not sure that it's that much wildly beyond the pale of anything else Michelle Wolf said. Like, for example, I think her rip on Mike Pence was just as bad as her rip on Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Here's what she said about Mike Pence.
A lot of people want Trump to be impeached. I do not. Because just when you think Trump is awful, you remember Mike Pence. Mike Pence is what happens when Anderson Cooper isn't gay. Mike Pence is the kind of guy that brushes his teeth and then drinks orange juice and thinks,
I don't even know what that means about the orange juice and the toothbrushing. Like, does he have no taste buds? Well, what exactly is the idea there? In any case, you know, again, making the Handmaid's Tale reference about Mike Pence, she would do that several times throughout the evening. And it's just, you know, again, I think bad comedy. I don't think this is wildly egregious. Here's what I do think was wildly egregious. So here is the point where she is demonstrative of what the left thinks, right? You can hear the entire crowd laughing at all of this, laughing along. Mike Pence is just terrible. Sarah Huckabee Sanders burns facts. Ah, ha, 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 ha. Right? And everybody in the audience who's laughing, understand that you just undermined your credibility for the next 10 years with the entire right-wing audience. You guys are trying to prove that Trump hates the media because he's disrespectful of the truth. Well, you guys are disrespectful of a very basic truth. You are biased. You are left-wing. You think these jokes are funny? You have to be left-wing to think these jokes are funny, or brain damaged. Those are the only two possibilities, because the jokes are not funny, number one, and number two, they're all very much left-wing jokes. And it'll be funny because you'll hear at the end, Michelle Wolf makes a couple of jokes. She actually lectures the members of the media, and they do not take it well. But here's the joke that got a laugh from some members of the media that just demonstrates full scale where the media's heads are at, the level of bias in the media. It's pretty astonishing. This is the one that should have shook the room, right? This is the joke that people should have been upset about, not the stuff about Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Look, I understand we live in the Me Too moment, and we're supposed to have female solidarity, and if there's any sort of implication that a woman is attacking another woman, that's really terrible, and all of this. Here's the joke that I was offended by, okay? Because it turns out I like babies, okay? I think babies are good. Here is the joke that I was offended by. Here's Michelle Wolf telling an abortion joke, I guess that's what this is, and it does demonstrate, I think, full scale what folks on the left think about abortion, which is pretty unfortunate.
Mike Pence is also very anti-choice. He thinks abortion is murder, which, first of all, don't knock it till you try it. And when you do try it, really knock it. You know, you got to get that baby out of there. And yeah, sure, you can groan all you want. I know a lot of you are very anti-abortion, you know, unless it's the one you got for your secret mistress. It's fun how values can waver.
And look at the expressions of the media there. Oh, the smiles. Oh, isn't she charming? Oh. So she basically, yeah, it's a baby. It's not murder, but it's a baby. You should really hit it hard till it comes out of there. And also, you all bought abortions for your mistresses, so now it's moral. Okay, the disrespect for human life there, I think, is a lot more deeply troubling from the left than the disrespect for Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Again, so I think Sarah Huckabee Sanders has a right to be mad. Yeah, I mean, this wasn't a roast. Right? If it were a roast, Sarah Huckabee Sanders would get up there and respond. But Sarah Huckabee Sanders is sitting there and I think stolidly taking it, and Kellyanne Conway doing the same thing. But that joke is the one that I think is really amazing. And again, you have to be not only on the left, but I think relatively inhuman to think that that is a funny joke. And don't knock abortion until you try it. And if you do try it, really knock it because you got to get that baby out of there. Wow, just hilarious stuff. Now, there was one joke that did fall flat for Michelle Wolf among the people in the audience, and that was her rip on the media. So in just a second, I'm going to play that for you because this actually was the one point in her little monologue that I thought was worthwhile. And then we'll get to all the reactions to this and the demonstration that the media, in all of their quote-unquote unbiased glory, are anything but unbiased. But finally, Michelle Wolf tells a joke that the media don't like. So the media liked the jokes about Sarah Huckabee Sanders. They liked a bunch of jokes about Mike Pence. She did a really ridiculous routine where she just talked about how Trump is not all that wealthy, which I think is probably true. I don't think Trump is as wealthy as he says he is, but she actually started telling a series of jokes saying Donald Trump isn't as wealthy as he thinks he is. He's so poor that, and then she'd have the audience say, how poor is he? And then she'd give a little joke at the end. In any case, here is the only thing the media did not laugh at. Her rip at the media, which is the only true thing she said the entire night. So here's Michelle Wolf, again, at the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
We've got our friends at CNN here. Welcome, guys. It's great to have you. You guys love breaking news, and you did.
Another overgrown child, former future President Hillary Clinton, she has not gotten this memo. She didn't get it. She is still going around just whining about how she lost the election, how terrible everything is. Here's a clip of her recently in Australia.
The double standard is alive and well, and it is more difficult for women in public positions. We'll talk about politics, but it's true in business, it's true in the media, it's just true across the board, because there are expectations about women's appearance that are deep in our collective DNA, so that people feel free to comment either favorably or unfavorably about hairstyles, clothing fashions, and all the rest of it.
Are you kidding me? That's your example? Because you're whining, making all of these excuses and saying, I didn't win because it wasn't fair, or blah, blah, blah. And the example you're using of the double standard is that women have their hair made fun of. When you ran against Donald Trump, the man who possesses the most mocked hairdo in maybe the history of the world. Everyone, since the 80s, people have been making jokes about Donald Trump's hair. But Hillary Clinton lives in this fantasy world where everyone's against her. People only criticize women. They only make fun of women. What are you talking about? How about all of the statues that went up in New York showing Donald Trump's grotesque body, allegedly grotesque physique, and all of the cartoons? And they're all, no, first of all, she's isolated, so everything is just in this really tiny bubble for her. But it's not that it's unfair, Hillary. It's not that other people don't get made fun of and don't get put through the ringer. It's that they deal with it with any bit of grace whatsoever, which you have never, ever been able to do. Hillary Clinton went on, by the way. She said, quote, "There is still a very large proportion of the population that is uneasy with women in positions of leadership. There is this fear, there is this anger, even rage about women seeking power, exercising power." Okay? So, by the way, when you look for the video of this on the internet, where they put this up, the comments are disabled. That tells you all you need to know. When the comments are disabled, it's because the people putting up, they know, they're like, oh, this probably isn't true. This is going to get a big blowback, isn't it? So your first thought is just like, oh, good grief, you know. The second thought is, thank goodness this woman isn't president because she hates her countrymen. And she's criticizing U.S. foreign policy abroad. She's criticizing the Iran deal. She's criticizing North Korea. It's very unpatriotic. And it's her never-ending campaign. This is the never-ending campaign, but good. It's so disgusting. It's so undignified, but keep going, Hillary. Stay on TV. I hope you do. People don't like this. They don't like, you're turning people off from your own party.